Right. Where are we in relation to the issue that we left at 1 o'clock?
We don't, I'm afraid, have an agreed form of words. If you'd like there to be further discussions, we can
I'm quite keen to address this.
Certainly.
Rather more speedily than that.
Yes.
Because over the short adjournment, I have had the opportunity of reviewing the transcript of yesterday afternoon.
Yes.
And reading the statement put out by associated newspapers. The transcript makes it clear that Mr. Grant's attitude was this. He tells the story of how he spoke with this English girl in Los Angeles who worked for a production company associated with Warner Brothers, whose voice he described as plummy, which was the nature of the story that had been published in February 2007.
Yes.
And he said, "So I cannot for the life of me think of any conceivable source for this story on the Mail on Sunday, except those voice messages on my mobile phones. My mobile telephone." Question, you haven't alleged that before, have you, in public domain? No. But when I was preparing this statement, going through all my old trials and tribulations with the press, I looked at that one again and thought, that's weird, and then the penny dropped. Question, I think the highest it can be put, frankly, it's a piece of speculation on your part, isn't it, in relation to this? Well, yes, you could, yes, speculation, okay. But I would love to know, I think Mr. Kaplan, who represents Associated, was saying earlier today he'd like to put in a supplementary statement, and, referring to the things I say today, what I'd love to hear what the Daily Mail's or the Sunday Mail's explanation for that article is, what that source was, if it wasn't phone hacking. Now, if one goes to the statement, and there was a later reference to the incident, but only when he was being pressed about the Daily Mail, and he referred to this answer and something Macmullen had said. The statement from Associated, according, I must admit, to the BBC website, the Mail on Sunday utterly refutes Hugh Grant's claim that they got any story as a result of phone hacking. In fact, in the case of the story Mr. Grant refers to, the information came from a freelance journalist who'd been told by a source who was regularly speaking to Jemima Khan. Pause there. That's a perfectly legitimate observation to make in relation to the story. There then is added Mr. Grant's allegations of mendacious smears driven by his hatred of the media. Well, it seems to me that there is considerable force in that which Mr. Garnham submitted and Mr. Sherborne embellished and you acknowledged and Mr. Kaplan did not, from which Mr. Kaplan did not demur, about the last sentence. And I'd like to know what the present position is. So maybe I'll ask Mr. Kaplan.
Yes, I'm not quite sure what, if I may say so, is meant. And I spoke to Mr. Jay over the luncheon adjournment. I'd very much like to know what, sir, you are asking the present position to be.
In relation to the last sentence of the press release.
Yes. Well, if you would, and I simply cannot do this over a luncheon adjournment. If you are inviting me to go away and provide a document to you in relation to that, I'm happy to do it. I'm not sure I can advance the matter, so to speak, at 2:10.
All right. Well,
But can I just say this? I just wonder whether you really wish me to do that. I have explained that there was a serious allegation made yesterday that there was a response outside of the inquiry because there was not, it seemed to us, a mechanism, and still, with respect, is not a clear mechanism for responding inside the inquiry. And there was pressure for Associated to comment. And the question is, to what extent was that comment, or did it go too far? If you wish me to develop that and provide a letter to the inquiry, I certainly can do so.
Yes, I'm more concerned. First of all, I've absolutely no wish to generate satellite arguments outside what this inquiry is seeking to address. Secondly, I am concerned that this comment, which may be driven from material outside the words that Mr. Grant uses, I don't know, and doubtless I'll hear, but is not justifiable by reference to the transcript to which I have just referred. I understand the concern, and in the event of something like this, then it's always open to you at the end of the witness to say something to me expressing concern. That's fair enough. I'm not going to allow a speech to be made, but just to alert me to the point.
Thank you.
But I am extremely concerned about ensuring that the arguments relating to this inquiry are conducted here, not elsewhere.
Quite understand that.
All right. Well, consideration ought to be given to that sentence. And I will wait to see. Mr. Sherborne, I'm alert to the point.
I'm grateful.
I have the transcripts. That's why I've just read them again.
You'll understand our concerns.
I understand it, and it's not irrelevant that it was raised also by Mr. Garnham. I'm anxious not to reach any inappropriate conclusions, but I would be unhappy if it was felt that the best form of defence was always attack.
Indeed, sir.
Right, let's carry on.
So may we proceed with the final witness today, who is Mr. Steve Coogan, please.
Right.
I do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Now you all
Sit down, Mr. Coogan. You've heard me say it before today, and I'm going to say it to you because it's not a general comment, it's a specific comment to everybody. And refers to what they've had to say. I recognise that you are here voluntarily. I recognise that you feel strongly about some of the issues that you've mentioned in your statement, and that inevitably there are issues about what you felt it appropriate to put in the public domain and that balance. But I do want to recognise that I am grateful to you. My thanks to you for being prepared to come forward to help me try and solve the difficult issues that have been placed before me. So this will inevitably expose rather more than you wish to expose for the very reasons that you identify. But I hope you do appreciate, first of all, its significance, and secondly, that it is not going without being noticed. Thank you.
Well, first of all, Mr. Coogan, may I invite you to give us your full name?
Stephen John Coogan.
I get to invite you now to turn up your witness statement, which I trust is in that file in front of you under tab 1. It is dated the 9th of November of this year, and there is a statement of truth at the end of the statement. Are you with me?
Yes.
And is that statement true?
Yes, it is.
We can place it up on our screen. It ends with the code number 2093, please. Just bear with us a moment while we find it for you.
Could I ask, while this is being found, when this will go on the website?
This evening, we believe.
Yes. Well, I think I might want them to go rather more quickly than that, and I'd like consideration to be given to whether the statement can't go on the website as soon as a witness starts to speak.
Yes. Well, so may we consider that? There may,
Yes.
may not be logistical issues, but it's obviously right in a public forum. The witness has confirmed his statement that it has now formally been received, but I'm not going to take it as read, Mr. Coogan. It is up on a screen which I'm looking at. You won't need it. I'm going to first of all I'm going to run through the statement and bring out certain matters in your own words. I'm going to start though by reading out your introduction in paragraph 2. You say that you learned years ago that aspects of my personal life, and for that matter my professional work, do not meet with the approval of some tabloid editors or proprietors. But I do not believe that gives them the right to hack into my voicemail, intrude into my privacy, or the privacy of people who know me, or print damaging lies. So that is your starting point. Beginning of the next paragraph, you tell us quite succinctly that you are an actor, comedian, and writer. Quite a lot of us know a bit more about that, but in your own words, I'll give you a couple of minutes. Tell us more about your professional career, please.
Well, I've been working in television and film and in production for the best part of 20 years.
Yes.
I started out doing stand-up comedy, then I started acting and writing and eventually producing other people's television shows.
Yes.
It's something I've always wanted to do. I'm a creative person. I enjoy creating programs. I enjoy writing. It's what I do. It's my vocation. I love it, and it's why I do what I do, because I like to create.
Yes.
I've recently branched out into, as I say, producing other people's television shows and sort of nurturing new comic talent, if you like. It's really it's what defines me. It's why I do what I do. I've never sought to be famous as such. Fame is a byproduct of what I do. Indeed, I don't appear on panel shows as myself. I don't sell myself as a personality. I create characters and I act and I write. But myself personally, I like to keep myself private.
Yes. You go on to say that you've never entered into a Faustian pact with the press. In your own words, what do you mean by that, please?
Well, one could argue that there are those who make their career from being famous, and that those people do enter into a Faustian pact where they use the press to sort of to improve and raise their profile. They exploit the press for their own ends, and it's a two-way street. And they exploit the press. They're in the fame game. Those people have entered into a Faustian pact. I haven't. I've never set myself up as a paragon of virtue, as a model of morality. I simply do what I do, and and that's what I like to be judged on, my work.
Thank you. Paragraph 6, please. You mentioned the first time you were the subject of an intrusive tabloid story. You give the date, January 1996, and the paper was the Daily Mirror, and it was a kiss and tell story. Do you know how much was paid to the person you mentioned?
I can't remember. I think it was something between £5,000 and £10,000, but I can't remember the exact figure.
Right. And you say that the journalist in question, who you name as Kate Thornton, also doorstepped the pregnant mother of your daughter several times. Where does that information come from? Maybe the answer's
well,
obvious.
from the mother of my daughter.
Yes, okay, so that's what directly you were told. Does the same apply to the other members of your family and the friends, which you go on to deal with towards the end of paragraph 6?
Yes, that's all sort of, they themselves have sort of told me directly that these things have happened.
Yes. And for about how long did this doorstepping activity last? Can you recall?
Well, it lasted, on that particular occasion, it lasted for a month or so around the story, and then they ring the story out. It peters out as they sort of rehash it and dress it up in different ways. Probably the best part of a month, I would say. Okay,
thank you. And in paragraph 7, you tell us in relation to a separate incident. It's now 2 months later, March 1996. A journalist telephoned your daughter's great-grandmother, who was obviously an elderly lady at the time. He was pretending to do a survey, but admitted, again, that she was from the Daily Mirror. The source of your information in relation to paragraph 7
was my daughter's late great-grandmother.
Yes.
Who had a phone conversation with someone who claiming to be from the council, doing a survey, and start to ask more and more questions pertinent to me and my ex-girlfriend. And at that point, she sort of said, "Are you from the gutter press?" That was her direct quote. And the person came clean and said, "Look, yes, it is. Look, it's a human interest story. This is the way we do things. Just spill the beans." Kind of thing. But it started out, claiming to be someone else.
Yes, and so to be clear, the phone number, you tell us, was obtained by copying the sender's address from the back of a letter in the communal lobby of your flat.
Yes.
Again, how do you know that?
I don't know it for certain.
Okay.
It's a very, very well educated guess, because the envelope was in the hallway. Someone who lived in the block with us had seen people snooping around in the lobby who didn't live there, and we found it stood to reason, because that was the only person who was phoned was the grandmother, and it was her address in the back of the envelope.
Right.
So it would stand to reason.
So you say that's a very reasonable inference.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Paragraph 8 I'm going to deal with a little bit later, Mr. Coogan. This is the Sunday Times profile in their magazine. And if you don't mind, I'm going to move to paragraph 10, stalking and surveillance. And you tell us that over the years, journalists and photographers have frequently camped outside your house day and night. Are you able to give any dates on when these events occurred, or is it just a general...
I would say over a period of about 10 years. It
Right.
would happen from time to time. Neighbours would tell me there's people outside with cameras again, in cars. So it would happen frequently, and sometimes I'd be followed by those people in their cars.
Yes. You name one journalist who's been mentioned yesterday, Mr. Paul McMullen, then of the News of the World.
Yes.
How do you know that he was one of them?
He told me.
Okay. And when did he do that?
When I was on Newsnight with him in the green room before the programme started.
Okay. Well,
He said I used to sit outside your house, which is very nice to know.
Well, that's very precise evidence, Mr. Coogan. Thank you very much. But then you say, towards the end of paragraph 10, some of these reporters have gone through the rubbish in your bins. I think I call that binology about 8 days ago now. It may or may not be the right terminology. But again, how do you know that
I
happened?
saw them.
You saw them.
I saw them from my bedroom window.
Okay.
They didn't look like tramps.
Right.
Well, not far off.
Late at night, presumably, was it?
Very early in the morning.
Okay. Now, in paragraph 11, you deal quite generally with the phone hacking issue. I'm going to ask you a few more questions about that. Have you seen redacted copies of the Glenn Mulcair notebook insofar as they relate to you?
Yes, I have.
Yes. Could you tell us, please, when you saw them?
My lawyer, when?
Approximately when?
Approximately a year ago, perhaps.
Okay.
Yeah. I got a court order for the police to disclose the notebooks to me, and I was able to look at the information.
Right, and I'm going to take this bit quite carefully. Did you see what we're calling a redacted copy, or did you see the full version?
I saw a redacted copy which had information about money I'd withdrawn from a cash machine, how much I paid for a hotel bill, what hotel I was staying in, but the precise amount of money I'd withdrawn from a cash machine, which would suggest someone was looking over my shoulder when I was doing it.
Yes.
Also, there were telephone numbers that belonged telephone numbers. There was a girl I was seeing at the time, and her name was in there, and
Right.
there were telephone numbers which were partly redacted. I was able to show her those telephone numbers, and she gave me the missing numbers, as it were, which I confirmed with officers from Operation Wheating.
I understand. Was there any other personal information there which you can share with us?
They had the password to my phone account. My account number was also there.
Right. The final question I have, but it has to be a general question. Was it possible to deduce from the redacted material you were shown when hacking into your phone might have occurred? Can you give us a year?
I can't remember if there was a date. I do know, though, I'd add that I had a phone call from my phone provider about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 2005, saying that a journalist saying that someone had rang up pretending to be me.
Yes.
On the phone to try and get information, and that was around the time that I was seeing the girl in question, whose name was in Glenn Mulcair's notebook. So
yes.
The dates do tally.
Yes, it sounds as if they do. Thank you, Mr. Coogan. And in paragraph 12, this is the pubs in Brighton section of your statement. Journalists coming in on fishing expeditions, obviously seeking stories about you. Again, how do you get to find out about that?
Friends of mine in Brighton would tell me that people have been going up to them in the pub asking questions on a number of occasions, saying, do you know Steve Coogan? Do you know anything about him? This would happen frequently, and on one occasion one of my friends sort of pushed the guy, and he said, I'm from the News of the World, and he said, if you've got a good story, there could be some money in it for you.
Thank you. Now, paragraph 13, can we deal with this sequence of your evidence in some detail? the date is August 2002, and you receive a telephone call from Mr. Rav Singh, who you say is a reporter with Andy Coulson's bizarre column in The Sun. Not that it matters too much, but my understanding is that at that time, both Mr. Singh and Mr. Coulson were working for the News of the World and not The Sun.
Okay, that may be my mistake.
It doesn't matter, okay. But I'm just correcting it. But in your own words, what was the substance of the call, please, Mr. Coogan?
Rav Singh, who I sort of counted as a casual friend, more a friend of a friend, called me and told me that I was about to be the subject of a sting, as it were, in that I was about to receive a phone call which would come from Andy Coulson's office. There was a girl in Andy Coulson's office who was going to speak to me on the phone. The phone call would be recorded, and she would try to entice me into talking about intimate details of her and my life.
Yes.
And that I was told by Rav Singh that Andy Coulson would be listening to the call, and that I would have to be very, if you like, obfuscate when I had that phone call, without betraying the fact that I knew I was being set up, so that I didn't land him in it for having tipped me off.
Yes. And so when the call came, as you said, you deadpanned it.
Yeah.
Obviously successfully, because no story emerged at that point.
Correct.
But you take us forward a couple of years, paragraph 15, Mr. Coogan, to April 2004, and tell us then, Mr. Singh has his own gossip column, you say, in News of the World, and he telephones you. Can you, in your own words, tell us what happened then, please?
I was in a relationship that was breaking up because of an affair I'd had. And he called me and said to me on the phone, he said, look, he said, I want to help you. He said, if you... I sort of begged him not to put in some of the more lurid details of the story. And he said if I confirmed certain aspects of the story, in return, he would guarantee that the more lurid details would be left out of the story.
Yes.
So I confirmed the certain details for him, and he gave me his word that the more embarrassing part of the story, which I knew would upset my and my then wife's family, would be omitted. And after that, I received my manager received a phone call from Andy Coulson saying that they'd recorded the whole phone call and they were going to put everything in the newspaper, and the Rav Singh gave me his word was just a ruse to get me to speak on the phone so they could record me, as I know at the time was in some distress, but to record the whole phone call so that they could cover themselves and put the lot in.
Example of a Faustian pact which went a bit wrong.
Well,
no fault of yours. Can I ask you, though, was the story published?
Yes.
And then you give your opinion about it in paragraph 16, and you say you don't think it was a malicious personal vendetta, but it was a dispassionate sociopathic act. That's
Yes, but
that is what you
well,
say.
it's like the mafia. It's just business. You know.
Paragraph 17, please. You say that you've been the victim of several kiss and tell stories. May I ask you approximately how many?
I
don't have to answer.
I couldn't put a number on it. I couldn't put a number on it, but several.
Several. We'll keep it several. And then you say what the pattern is, because they do, in your evidence, tend to follow a pattern. Help us a bit with that.
Okay. Well, the technique they often use is because these women are often vulnerable and not canny enough to understand the techniques of the press, and I know anecdotally. That what they do is they say, we're going to run a story about you. it's going to be very unsympathetic. We're going to make you look tawdry. They'll say this to the girl. We're going to make you look tawdry and awful and sluttish. But if you talk to us, you can make the story all positive and friendly and nice, and we'll make you look lovely, and we'll give you some money as well. So what do you want to do? And they say, we know what went on, and we know, or they'll mention a couple of details. And really, that is my experience, that is a ruse, that they can't publish a story unless the person speaks to them, so that it's a bluff. And if they don't speak to them, they can't publish a story. And often the information they've gotten is gained by blagging a couple of details. And in the case of the girl I was seeing in 2005, they tried to entice her to sell her story using information. They tried to get her to sell a story using information that was in messages that I'd left for her and she'd left for me, which at the time I didn't understand why they knew that, but they used that as enticement, and so, but they knew they couldn't publish the story because that information hadn't been gained legally, so they had to get her to admit it. And
I understand. Yeah. Thank you, that's helpful. Now, we're moving now, Mr. Coogan, to paragraph 18 and the Daily Mail. And maybe just get our bearings in terms of the timing. You refer to two articles in the Daily Mail, which we have printed off and which you've seen, but given their nature, it may or may not be necessary to look at them in any detail. But the first article was published in the Mail on the 30th of August of 2007, and just so that you have your bearings with it, it's in your bundle. It's the directly underneath tab 4. The title is, or the headline, this is the online edition, so it's not quite as it appeared in print. Steve Coogan blamed for Owen Wilson's drug spiral. So that's the first one. And then the second one, which you referred to at the beginning of paragraph 19, is the article which appears 5 or 6 pages later on in this little bundle. It's dated the 1st of September, and it's the one entitled Coogan the Barbarian, the truth about the man blamed, and then open inverted commas, leading Owen Wilson to the brink of suicide, close inverted commas. Now, the position here, obviously these are very sensitive and private matters, and I'm not going to go into this in any unnecessary detail, but Mr. Wilson was, perhaps still is a friend of yours, is that right?
Yes, he is.
Yes. And it's clear from what is in the public domain that, can I put it in this terms, he took some form of drug overdose, is that right?
Allegedly.
Yes.
I don't really want to talk about what happened with him, but that's not confirmed.
Okay. But you make it clear in your statement, and this is the evidence you wish to give, paragraph 18. You make it absolutely clear, 5 lines into paragraph 18, Mr. Coogan, you say there's absolutely no truth in the allegation. I've not been in the same continent as Owen, that's Owen Wilson, for 9 months prior to his episode, and I've never taken drugs with him or in his presence.
Correct.
So that is your clear position.
Absolutely.
Yes. And you issued a curt denial. Did you ever, I'm asked to put this to you, did you ever complain about this particular article either to the Daily Mail directly or to the Press Complaints Commission?
I didn't, for several reasons.
Yeah.
Primarily, I didn't want to give the story legs, and my chief concern was my friend at that time. I didn't want to shine the spotlight on him when he was in a particularly vulnerable state. And I thought any emphatic courting of the press to protest my innocence beyond that shortcut denial would make life difficult for him. So that was part of the reason I didn't do anything. The other reason is, and it's the way I've treated many of the stories over the years that I've found upsetting and intrusive, is I take advice from my lawyers, and on this occasion the potential soap opera that would ensue outweighs any benefit I might get from having some form of retraction, and also the effort involved in going through legal action. Really, it's as effective sometimes to do nothing, because the story sort of goes away.
Yes.
But of course, these days, in the old days, of course, it would have been tomorrow's fish and chip paper. But of course, things are online these days, so things stay there forever. But the main reason I didn't do anything is because, on balance, what you lose on the swings, you gain on the roundabouts, because by taking action, you prevaricate the story. You might get some sort of retraction if you do nothing, but you also, push the story forward and you keep it up there in the newspapers, and that's something I didn't want to do. And on balance, and also, it's also cheaper to do nothing.
Well, there's a whole series of reasons you've clearly given, which we've all noted. In relation to the second piece of the 1st of September 2007, I've been asked to make these points, and so please bear with me, Mr. Coogan. The first point is, it may not be obvious, that the reason why inverted commas are placed around the phrase leading Owen Wilson to the brink of suicide is that the male there are reporting someone else's statement. I'm not going to identify that someone else. You know who it is. Mm-hmm. But would you agree that is a fair point, or would you disagree?
I would disagree. They're doing that. I would suggest they're doing that to cover themselves. The whole article, basically, if you have a headline that says the truth about the man blamed, first of all, it has the word truth in the sentence. So their defence in something which is scurrilous is basically punctuation. That's what they're saying they've done to sort of that gets them off the hook. In fact, if someone reads that headline, they see the man blamed for leading Owen Wilson to the brink of suicide, and most people would be left with one impression from that sentence. They wouldn't say, it's in quote marks. I can see that Steve Coogan is not really responsible for that. Okay. I'd also add that this a cursory examination of this story by that newspaper would have revealed that there was no truth in it whatsoever. They even, I heard, tried to defend themselves by saying that they questioned the reliability of the source within the article, as if somehow that got them off the hook. But in actual fact, if they question the reliability of the source, then that suggests that they question the entire veracity of the story, in which case, why did they print it?
The way it is, of course, you've had advance notice of the lines I'm taking. They say at the bottom of the first page, there are two ways of looking at her comments. One of them is to view them as motivated by revenge. So they're putting up the proposition she may not be reliable because she's motivated by revenge. Well, is that not fair?
Well, no, I'd refer you to the answer I gave before, which is if they regard it as being unreliable, then that means that they question the whole nature of the stories. But as I say, I don't think they're interested in what the facts are. They're interested in good copy, and that's what they got.
Yes. And they also recorded your strong denial of the truth of the allegations, didn't they? In this
yes. Article? It wasn't the headline, though.
No.
No.
Thank you. This article you point out.
They also don't seem to know what the fourth commandment is.
It's the seventh, I think, isn't it?
It is, yes. The fourth commandment is they shall not commit adultery. All right.
I could say which the fourth one is, but it's one of the ones I breached, so we did not put on that one.
Okay, let's not go there.
make then, Mr. Coogan, some general points. No, so I was still dealing with the point. These articles are still on the Mail website, you say. I think I'm sure that's not in dispute. And we can see when we printed them off, which was only a few days ago. You then make some general points, starting at paragraph 21, tittle tattle and entertainment. Can I ask you, please, to elaborate on a broader general point, the fear of tabloid revenge? What's the basis for those fears?
In respect of what tabloid revenge, in respect of me being here or me taking action, in what respect?
Well, I think first of all, please, if you deal with a more general point, not the point about you being here. You can deal with that if you wish a little bit later.
Okay.
But at a higher level of generality, the fear of tabloid revenge. Could you help us in that, please?
That if you make yourself, if you stick your head above the parapet, or you criticise the papers, or you make a point of taking action, then they'll come after you. And insofar as my legal action is concerned, I was advised by my publicists that they actually said to me, "Do you?" When I was considering taking action against News International, my publicists said to me, "Do you really want to make enemies of these people?" By implication, the inference being that and when I asked them to elaborate, they said, "Well, in the future, if they decide to run another story, we can use it as a bargaining chip. We can say that you could have taken legal action and you didn't. Therefore, why don't you drop this story?" But when they said these people, they meant that the inference was clear that if you make life difficult for them, they will use their newspapers as a weapon against you.
Yes. Well, you almost invited the next question. I mean, do you have fears about giving evidence today? Obviously, you're here to give evidence, but in terms of the possible repercussions?
A little bit, but I know that there's a lot of other people who, and I feel that I'm here. I'm not someone who particularly wants to get involved in waving a banner for a right to privacy. It was just that I felt no one else was doing it, so that not many other people of my similar to me were doing it. So I thought I ought to get involved. And the reason a lot of other people don't want to do it, but share my views, and have told me, many other celebrities, for want of a better word, have told me that they agree with me and they'd like to come here, but they don't have the stomach for it, and they fear what will happen. Ironically, because of the stories that have been run about me, most of my closet is empty of skeletons due to the press. So in a way, unwittingly, maybe immune in some ways. And I, but I mean, in fact, when I appeared on Newsnight, I mentioned Paul Dacre in a slightly less than flattering light, which is a very unwise thing to do. And then next day in the paper, there's a big story raking up all the old tabloid stories about myself and Hugh Grant. And it appeared to me he'd probably gone to his office and sent a memo around saying, if you want to throw any dirt at Steve Coogan and Hugh Grant, be my guest. And Amanda Patel and Melanie Phillips duly obliged.
Yes, well, we do have those pieces. They're the back of tab 7, I think, Mr. Coogan. Well, maybe you confirm we've got the right ones in your bundle there.
Yes, at the back, yes, I see them.
Yes. This is dated the 11th of July, which would make your Newsnight appearance on the 10th of July.
Approximately. It was a day or two after the appearance.
But I'm not going to read those out. Okay. People can form their own view about them, and we draw them to your attention. You mentioned a publicist. I asked Mr. Grant about this yesterday, but in your own words, presumably you have a publicist. What is his or her role?
If I have well, first of all, I'd say for the record, I try to avoid publicity as much as possible. You won't find me on a panel show. You won't find me. I get invitations to openings and premieres all the time. They go straight in the bin. I'm not really interested in that. But my publicist, his job is, if I have a television program or a film to promote, and I'm contractually obliged to promote that as part of my job, they will sometimes, actually, my publicist will job is to try and minimise the amount of publicity I'm obliged to do. I'll say, what's the least I can get away with?
Yes.
And they'll arrange an interview to support that film or television program in a newspaper or a magazine, and I normally try to say I'd like to avoid the tabloids, but sometimes the people I've made the programme for insist that I speak to a tabloid and do an interview. But their job is to arrange those things. I mean, that's primarily. I mean, there are other things too, of course.
Now, you referred, and I said I'd come back to it. This is paragraph 8 of your statement, to a profile in the Sunday Times. This has been printed out, and I hope you have the version which I provided to Mr. Sherborne. It looks like this, Mr. Coogan.
Yes, I've seen it. I saw it before.
So I hope you've.
I think it's here, actually. It's worth handing it.
I think you should have the same copy we're working from, and obviously I'm grateful to Mr. Davis for providing it. I think this, to be clear, Mr. Coogan, as we can see from the bottom of the left-hand page, is a profile of you in the Sunday Times magazine, which came out on the 27th of April 2008. And indeed you specifically refer to it. Were you shown this? I mean, I'm not quite sure how these things work. Were you shown this in draft before it was published?
No.
Or not?
No.
Would you expect to have seen it in draft before it was published?
Not especially. No, I wouldn't.
Thank you. And again, I'm not going to dwell on much of the detail, but I'm just going to explore the way this material is put together, as it were. That it seems to be clear from the text that there was an exploratory chat with you, which was very much informal, no tape recorder running, no notes taken, and the author says that he conducted that at your club in February. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And then there was a more formal phase, which again the author talks about. Apparently this was in a vegetarian restaurant in Brighton.
Yes, that's correct.
And maybe there was a tape recorder running on that occasion,
yes,
as would be standard practice. And again, I draw the inference that the author does quite a lot of online research about you. There is quite a lot of material online, presumably, and then the questions start. And some of the questions related to your personal life, didn't they? Yes. But some of them, it's right to say, you didn't answer for that reason.
Correct.
Yes. It may be unfair to ask you this general question, but aside from the issue about the photograph, which you address specifically, and which we're going to come to, do you have an objection to the article itself. Let's strip away all the photographs, just consider the text.
I did have an objection.
Okay.
The reason I did the interview was because I did it reluctantly.
Right.
I was naive perhaps, in that I've received some bad advice saying that this person wants to redress the balance of the negative publicity he'd read about you, and I myself, feeling misrepresented in the press, agreed to do it. But I think he just sort of and I was told he was very keen on talking about my work, which he does for a portion of the article. But no, I wasn't happy with the article, really. It wasn't what I'd hoped it would be, and really I did the interview reluctantly, because to somehow really as a counterpoint to publicity I hadn't wanted in the first place. As I say, to try and redress the balance of negative,
yes,
unsympathetic stories.
So from your perspective, it didn't work out, that the substance and perhaps the tone hadn't met your understanding of what it might be. Is that right?
I felt the journalist in question was disingenuous in the way he represented himself.
It might be said, and can I just put this as gently as I can, that you were taking a bit of a risk even allowing this sort of interview to be conducted, because there was a prospect that this sort of spin might be put and we would see this sort of end product. Is that completely unfair?
It's a question of judgment. If I say nothing, then the negative stories go uncontested, and so I have to take a risk. And I naively thought that, but perhaps I should have known, seeing as it's News International, that the Sunday Times might take a more mature approach. But I was wrong.
Yes. Okay. You have a particular point about a photograph. I'm just going to invite you to look at the photograph. It's really not necessary that anybody else see it, because it's by its very nature it's an intrusion on privacy. But it's the page, it's the second A3 page, and it's the caption "The Mother," and we see two, maybe a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. Doesn't matter really, but two young children in the picture, and you objected to that.
I didn't give my permission for them to put a picture of my children in, and that particular photograph was taken on a telephoto lens by a paparazzi photographer whom I approached on the day and challenged. I said, "Were you taking photographs of me and my children?" And he said, "No, I was taking photographs of the pier." And he showed me his camera and obviously hid the photographs and showed me photographs of Brighton Pier, claiming he'd been photographing the pier. And so I took him at his word, and then the photographs appeared in this article, which is a clear breach of the existing guidelines.
Yes. So we understand your evidence that the photograph was taken for the specific purpose of this article in the Sunday Times.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood.
No, the photograph was taken by a paparazzi photographer, who then sold it to Big Pictures.
Sorry, yes, you have told us that.
Who then sold it to the Sunday Times.
Yes, my apologies. In the article, and I have been asked to draw this to your attention, it is on the next page. There's some pagination. It's page 17, the very bottom of the left-hand side. You're noted as saying that you were, well, I quote, "He's most talkative about his daughter's schooling. She attends a school in Brighton." So I think what I'm being asked to suggest to you, well, you're giving some information out quite freely about your daughter, and therefore it's not unreasonable to make the mistake and publish a photograph.
Well, I can explain that.
Thank you, yes.
The conversation about my daughter was not part of the interview. It was intimated to me by him that this was off the record, because he started the question by saying himself, I'm thinking of sending my children to such and such a school, or I'm looking at schools for my children, he said to me. Yes. And then he said, do you know any good schools? And then he spoke about his children, and this was, the conversation was coached in terms of where and initiated with where he wants to send his kids to school. And it was over dinner, and we just sat down, and it was, although he didn't say this is off the record, that was the inference I drew. I would never present that kind of information in an article about my family. I don't talk about my family. So I felt I was misled about that.
Yeah. Well, it certainly comes in. Of course, this article isn't put together in chronological order, no doubt, but it's in the section which precedes the formal part of the interview, which is in the vegetarian restaurant in Bright. There was then an apology. It's the last page, Mr. Coogan, of the little sheaf of A3 pages we provide to you.
Oh yes, yes indeed, yes. Yes.
Now, I'm just orientating myself. We are no longer in the magazine section of the Times. I think we're in the first section of the Times, on the second page of the first section. It's on the left-hand side under a heading News in Brief. And it says, Steve Coogan. We're now on the 11th of May 2008. An interview with Steve Coogan was illustrated with a photograph of Mr. Coogan taken in 2004 with Anna Cole, who was described as his then girlfriend, and her children. In fact, the relationship had ended in 1996. We apologise for any distress caused by the error and by invading the privacy of Miss Cole and her children in publishing the photograph and information about the schooling of Mr. Coogan's daughter. Well, so they apologised.
Yes, I had to point out to my friends where to find the 1-inch column, in case they missed it. It's not quite the same as it's not quite the same status as the 4 pages of the article.
No.
And also, I would say that all these apologies are closing the stable door after the horse is bolted. Yes. You can't give back the pound of flesh you've taken.
No. Okay. Well, one doesn't want to take that too far, because that would be an argument for there being no need to apologise at all, because it could never achieve any utility. No,
they should apologise. They should just do it bigger.
Yes. Okay. And where do you think such an apology should have gone in the circumstances of your case?
It should have been more noticeable. You know, two pages like that would probably satisfy me.
I won't pursue that. Further, we have your evidence clearly about it, and of course it will be considered. There's another piece or interview I would like to ask you about, and this is you've had notice of it, but what I've done is, because of the nature of the internet printout, it's not that easy to follow in the bundle you've got there. So I've printed it out yet again, and I've given it page numbers so we might be able to navigate it. But so you know what we're talking about, it's an article by Mr. Piers Morgan in a magazine called GQ, originally published in January 2006. But for some reason, well, indeed the reason is given, it reprinted in 2011 to mark the release of Alan Partridge's memoirs. Can I hand you, please, and I'm going to hand to
Sorry, I'm not sure that date is correct. The first date.
I'll show you where it is. But what I am going to do to avoid confusion, and I had a lot of trouble printing this out, but that's just the way the internet works, is hand you another version which is paginated. This was emailed through last week, but we're going to struggle a bit.
Thank you.
I've got some further copies. If you kindly please look at the 10th page at the very back.
Page 10.
Yes. I've written it in on
Yeah.
red. You will see that the piece was originally published in the January 2006 issue of British GQ. Are you with me, Mr. Coogan?
Yes, yes.
And then at the start, it's reprinted. So my belief, it was this.
Well, it's the 31st of May 2011, because if you go back to page 10, it says both dates.
Thank you. I was going to say this year, but you kindly confirm that. It was reprinted to mark the release of your character's memoirs. And indeed, one can cross-reference this, if that's the right way of putting it, with pages in Mr. Morgan's book, which I've read, which we may or may not be hearing more about. But this was an interview which took place in what Mr. Morgan describes as an excruciatingly trendy club in Soho.
Yes, he chose the venue.
Thank you, Mr. Coogan. And it's clear if he's right, it lasted for 2 hours. Is that fair enough? Mm-hmm. And he's not suggesting you were under the influence of alcohol, because he says you ordered 2 glasses of wine, which over 2 hours is neither here nor there. Pardon me?
It was after midday.
Fair enough. Now, have you had the chance to read this piece?
I've not read it for some time.
Right. Did Mr. Morgan tape the interview again in line with standard practice, or can you not recall?
I can't recall. He may have done. He may have taken notes. I can't recall. But I can't remember. Is the answer. He may have done. He may have done.
I'll ask you some specific questions about it, but I'm conscious of the fact that the interview is, in some respects, quite probing. Would you agree with me that it covers a range of topics which bear on your private life?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And those topics range from what I might describe as lifestyle issues to partners and other matters. Did you feel that the interview was unfair or intrusive, Mr. Coogan?
A little, but it's Piers Morgan, so it's. I suppose it's what it's what you expect when he interviews you. Yes, so a little.
Yes. Well, that might mean a number of things. One thing might be that he's a charming man and he's able to bring the best out of his interviewee, or it might mean something else. I mean, what are you?
The something else is the.
Well, it's up to you. Do you want to share that with us, or would you rather not?
Not particularly. I mean, it's when you do an interview again, this was to support a movie. I didn't choose to. It was part of the thing. It was set up.
Yes.
I was told. When you do an interview like this, you once the cat's out of the bag,
Yes.
as it were, I'm sort of covering ground that's already in the public domain. I certainly
Yes.
wasn't doing an expose and venting and spilling my guts. I was talking about things that had already been aired in the public domain.
Yes, well, that's absolutely right. Can I suggest that this might be a bit of an issue here? Can I try and deal with it at a level of some generality, which may or may not apply to your particular case? But you reach the point with someone who is rightly or wrongly in the public eye, where information about them has entered the public domain by a variety of routes. Some of those routes might be illegal ones, and some of those routes might be friends or former friends who have spoken to the press in a way in which was other than discreet. And some other routes are entirely ethical and legal. So we reach a position, certainly by 2006, where a lot about you, which is now all mixed up, the illegal, the unethical, and perhaps the legal, and there's now a persona which you're then asked about.
Yeah.
And that creates, you would say, a bit of a dilemma for you, because on the one hand, you don't want to talk about it. On the other hand, it's damage limitation. Is that how you see it?
I'd rather not talk about it. But well, if you're doing an interview, you don't want to come across as being curmudgeon or precious, and you want to support the film. So you try to be agreeable and open and not obstructive. But would I rather not talk about these things? Yes, I'd rather not talk about it.
Yes. Would you agree? I mean, please contradict me if you disagree with what I was trying to put to you with the sort of problem we face here, that the sources of information about you are a melange of various things, and also, one should add, of a melange of untruths, because added to this potpourri of sources is material which is untrue, exaggerated, or whatever, and so you then are confronting all of this and having to confront it, deal with it in a certain way.
Well, I very rarely take action about these things because I could expend a lot of time and energy on the existing systems of redress, but I don't want to channel all my energies into that. I'd rather spend my time writing and doing what I do for a living, because it's quite time consuming and it drains you of energy, and that's why oftentimes I just walked away and got on with my job. But it's not. But I'm unhappy about it.
Yes. Well, thank you for that answer. You do deal with the issue of privacy in the Piers Morgan piece at page 4, about 3/4 of the way down. Do you see that under the question, what is the issue about privacy? Are you on page 4?
Sorry,
page 4, working from the little red pagination. He asks you the question, what is the issue about privacy? Are you with me?
Yes.
And then your answer is, the issue if you set your stall out in a certain way and lead a rather different life, then fair enough, you bring it on yourself. For example, I have a young daughter I only going to mention once in this interview, out of respect for her, nor now I could, like some celebrities do, use her to paint a picture of myself as some sort of wholesome figure. But that is playing a game. I don't need to convince anyone that I'm like that. Those who need to know, and if people want to think of me as some sort of twat, then so what? I've got enough friends who don't think that. I don't get free kitchens from Hello either. That's a dangerous game to play. So you're making your position there absolutely clear. After a very intrusive question about a particular partner, which I'm just not going to ask you about. Yes, that's fair enough.
Yes, I mean, if I can elaborate on that. It's
yes,
really,
please do.
Given a choice between constantly engaging with the press and trying to mount some sort of campaign of self-justification, and saying nothing, and retaining a little privacy, even though there's misinformation out there,
yes.
I choose the latter. It's the lesser of two evils.
Yes.
That's, in one sense, entirely understandable. But you'll have to accept that, speaking as somebody who spent 40 years of his life in the law, it's also a bit concerning that if wrongs are not righted, then we ought to think of a way of righting them, correcting them.
Yes, if the ways of writing them were easier, I mean, there's two issues I would say. That one is closing the stable door after the horse is bolted is only does so much good. That you can't put the genie back in the bottle. So I'd rather these things weren't printed in the first place. But if they have, then the system addressed. If it was more straightforward, I would have engaged in it. It was the prospect of legal action, which is expensive, and the PCC, which I was, I looked at that. I have to say, the fact that Paul Dacre sits on the PCC, and I'm going to take a complaint about the Daily Mail, even though I know he wouldn't sit in on that particular that particular case, and I know that editors don't do that when it pertains to their newspaper, doesn't fill you with confidence, and I think that's borne out by the fact that the biggest test in the last 40 years of their ability, the hacking scandal, completely passed them by. So I don't feel my suspicions and prejudices about the PCC are without foundation. If the mechanism for redress was more straightforward and I had more faith in it, then I'd use it.
So I'm going to move on to another piece. I've only got 15 or 20 minutes left, Mr. Coogan, but I think it's... If you give an stenographer, would you like to conclude?
No, I'm very happy Mr. Coogan's been there for an hour to give him a break. I think his last answer is a fitting answer upon which to cogitate for 5 minutes. So that's what we'll do. But it is 5 minutes.
Mr. Coogan, under tab 5, please, in the bundle, there is another piece in the mail. If I could kindly ask you to turn it up.
Sorry, I don't have the... oh, is this? I have it, sorry.
And have I got this right? Is this an interview that you're giving to the Daily Mail as a result of which a piece is published on the 23rd of August 2009?
Yes.
Could you tell us, please, the circumstances in which you gave this interview and why you gave it?
It was again supporting something. It was definitely something. It was a film or something. Yes, it was a film I did in America that's called Hamlet 2 that I was promoting. Yes, and it was arranged by my publicist, and the journalist was a friend of mine.
Right. Do you feel that this is...
And is a friend of mine.
Still is a friend?
Yes.
Is the journalist freelance, or does the journalist work...
Freelance. And this was for the magazine, just to clarify.
The Mail magazine?
Yes, indeed.
Right. So is this published at weekends?
Yes.
In terms of the content of the article, maybe it's quite a wide question. Do you have any concerns about it?
I think it covers the same ground as the article in the Sunday Times. The cat's out of the bag. It doesn't do to come over all poor old me. The tabloids won't leave me alone. It doesn't particularly endear you to people.
No.
So in an interview like this, one tries to be philosophical as the most politic approach.
Right. In this piece, you do deal with the earlier Daily Mail articles, which we've looked at. If you look at the pagination on the internet printout at the top right-hand side, it's page 6 of 9, Mr. Coogan. And at the very bottom, without raking over old ground, you are recorded as saying that you're scathing of the press you got. This is in relation to the subject matter of the August and September 2007 articles we had looked at earlier. And then on the next page, you say, that story gained more credence over here than there. It was a complete fabrication put about by someone who had a different agenda. And then you say in America they realised it was, well, we can work out what that is, as soon as they established that it was spread by someone who was trying to throw a grenade in my path. The industry made it very clear to me that they knew, so thankfully it had no effect on my career or on your friendship. So those in the know in the States were not impacted by the 2007 article.
They were, as I've said in my statement, it did have an initial negative effect, quite damaging. The reason they realised it wasn't true is because I had to make representations to people to illuminate them as to what the facts were.
Yes.
Once I'd done that, they quickly realised there was no substance to the story.
Yes.
But had I not done that, it would have been damaging. And initially it was. I had to contact certain people and tell them the truth.
Yes.
And once I'd done that, then the damage was avoided.
Yes. the very least it might be said about this article is that they are giving you the chance to put the record straight insofar as it can be put straight. They're recording faithfully what you're saying, although of course it's 2 years after the article the damage has been done. But you have been given a limited platform to rectify the position. Is that a fair observation or not?
I would say it's not a fair observation. It's denials and corrections again after the damage has been done. The damage has been done. It can't be undone. It can be mitigated.
Yes.
And that's all I tried to do.
Yes. Well, that's certainly true in relation to privacy, for obvious reasons. But in relation to defamation, the damage can be rectified by a successful claim, can't it?
Yes, it can. It can. It's expensive and it's unwieldy, but yes, it can be done if you've got the time and the wherewithal.
This article certainly does present a rather different picture of you. I've never claimed to be a paragon of virtue, but my behaviour has changed, not because of what a newspaper says about me, but because I thought it ought to be. I use it to be wiser and realise that it helps me to be creative. I mean, that's effectively one of the things you've said today.
Yes.
But I understand the point you're making.
Thank you. But to go on to the point about defamation, this is picking up now what you're saying in paragraph 29 of your witness statement, when you're really sort of giving us your opinions. You make 2 points really in relation to defamation. Well, there's obviously a third one. A, litigation is expensive. Well, we all know about that. B, you run the risk of antagonising the press further. This is the revenge or retaliation point. And C, of course, you're giving additional oxygen to the story by litigating over it. So those are factors which will always play in the balance whenever a litigant decides whether to sue or not to sue for defamation.
Yes.
You don't deal, and please do so now, with what your solutions or recommendations might be, particularly in a genie out of the bottle situation, or maybe your solution would be to ensure that the genie never departs from the bottle. But now's your chance. Tell us what you think.
I don't want to sort of come up with. I'm not an expert on what mechanism should be in place. I wish that there was no need for regulation outside the press. I wish the press were able to regulate themselves. I would like that, but they've been given many opportunities and have failed. If the press suddenly had a Damascene conversion and decided to behave themselves, that would be great. But I think that would be me perhaps being naive again. I think whatever's in place needs to be wieldy, and people should be able to use it whether they have money or not, because of course many of the people caught up in these stories don't have the same disposable income that I have to take action. They just get caught up in it, and there needs to be something to help those people, some sort of redress for those people. And I think obviously it needs to, whatever the solution is, it needs to have some industry people in. Of course it does, but it also, I think it needs to have some sort of lay or independent component that can counter that in a meaningful way. But quite well that is, I don't know. I just, and as I say, I'm not sort of even because what's very important to me is press freedom, and I don't think that it's often used as a smokescreen to legitimise invasions of privacy. There's some brilliant journalism in this country, and if there needs to be a mechanism, really, in the interests of protecting genuine public interest journalism, for that reason, there needs to be a privacy law so that genuine public interest journalism isn't besmirched by this tawdry muckraking. So I think people there needs to be a change, and it's something that should both simultaneously protect genuine public interest journalism, whilst also protecting the worst excesses of the press. And none of these stories about me, none of them can be described as being in the public interest.
Yes. So the sense of your evidence, is this right, Mr. Coogan, that you're inviting the inquiry to consider recommending a privacy law which would protect, self-evidently, privacy unless a specific public interest justification were demonstrated in individual cases? Is that the gist of what you're communicating?
Yes, and I would also add that that transgressions need to be punished meaningfully, because I'm sure that some newspapers factor in potential damages when they decide to run a big story. They can afford to take the hit, so that in that respect it doesn't work. So
yes.
Yeah.
Well, the existing state of the common law, that's the right way to describe our burgeoning privacy law, is that exemplary damages are not recoverable for breach of confidence or breach of privacy. So are you inviting the inquiry to consider recommendations which might move the law forward?
I think so, yes, because
Okay.
Because people have a right to privacy. People have a right to, and people shouldn't be punished just because they have a high profile.
Okay. Well, we have two specific ideas, recommendations coming out of your evidence, and that's very clearly expressed. Thank you very much. I'm going to give you this final chance, really, because I've been through your witness statements. I've taken you to material others wish me to take you to. You've dealt with it all very clearly. Is there anything either I've missed out or which you feel in any event you wish to say?
I'd just like to add that this is not, in case the press try to portray it that way, in terms of people with a high public profile or celebrity, if you like. It's not the Stephen Hughes show. We're here because, and not with great enthusiasm, we're here because somebody has to represent all those other people who haven't the stomach to be here. So when I'll just make it quite clear that, and now I can speak on behalf of Hugh as well and say this, of course there's a personal element to it, but it's not just about us, it's about other people.
Thank you.
Mr. Coogan, I understand that, and when I thanked you at the beginning, I was really reflecting that feature of your evidence. I want to make it clear that when Mr. J asks, do you have any ideas, I'm not in any sense casting the responsibility on you, or indeed anyone else, to come up with solutions, but I felt it was right that those who had been prepared to step forward, and indeed some of those who are going to be required to step forward, who aren't coming voluntarily but are coming because I've required them to come, also should be able to enter the debate as to how we move forward. Because, as I have said many times, the system has to work. It has to work for the industry, and it also has to work for the public. So it's in everybody's interest that we try to find a solution. But I wouldn't want it to be thought that I had suddenly dumped the weight of this inquiry onto your shoulders to come up with a solution. That's not the reason you were asked the question. But thank you indeed for your time.
Thank you.
Right. Well, does that conclude the work we've got to do today?
So yes, we have
with 40 minutes to go.
Yes, there's plenty to do, though, behind the scenes. And indeed, we have 4 witnesses, I think, at least tomorrow. Slightly
Right.
lost track where we are, but court participants know who they are.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Sherborne.
I was only going to assist Mr. J to name the individuals in the order in which they're giving evidence tomorrow. The evidence starts with Mark Lewis, to be followed by Cheryl Gascoigne, then Tom Rowland, and then finally Jerry and Kate McCann.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sherborne, I'm conscious of the concern that statements haven't been put through the system to be made public as quickly as I'd originally hoped. I've been addressing that problem. I'm sorry, I've not been addressing it, but the problem has been being addressed during the course of the afternoon. I can only say that as one starts one of these enterprises, some things take just a little bit longer to smooth out than others.
So I understand that, and I understand, as you said earlier, that in an ideal world, the witness statements will be available as the witness gives evidence,
yes, well,
as Mr. J says.
It's obviously got to wait for the witness to say, yes, that's my statement.
Of course.
But thereafter, I would hope that we'll be able to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So can I just raise one matter? Sorry.
Yes.
Just going back to the evidence of Mr. and Mrs. Watson,
Yes.
and you heard this morning about a complaint to the Press Complaints Commission. In fact, the complaint regarded the Sunday Mail, which is a sister paper of the Daily Record, and it is a different newspaper from the
Yes,
Mail on Sunday.
I'm very happy to recognise that fact, which actually I knew.
Thank you very much.
But I do recognise it.
Sorry to...
No. Anything that uses up the 35 minutes so that I can't be criticised as knocking off early, yes?
I promise to be much shorter than that. I just wanted to raise the question of attribution of questions asked by counsel
Yes.
for the inquiry. We think that the general rule should be that questions are not attributed. That is partly because it's the quid pro quo, in a sense, for the person suggesting the question not being able to put it themselves,
I understand.
follow it up as they would wish, and so on. And also, it might inhibit people suggesting questions in the future.
I understand.
I completely understand that there is an exception, I think, if there is a point where a court participant, or possibly anyone else, wants to be made clear that evidence on a particular point is disputed or an allegation is challenged. In that situation, obviously, there's no point in that being anonymous. If there is an allegation against News International and we want it to be known that we don't accept that, then that has to be attributed to us for it to be useful. But apart from that exception, our understanding is that questions put by counsel of the tribunal will not be and should not be attributed.
I think that's absolutely the right balance. Mr. Kaplan?
Yes, I agree.
Mr. Sherborne?
So yes, as long as Mr. J doesn't say a source close to him or some similar phrase, then we're perfectly happy with that.
Right, I've got that. Do any of the other court participants want to say anything about that? Right. I had hoped, first thing this morning and indeed at lunchtime, to look at the anonymity protocol because the last representations came in yesterday. For reasons which I think you'll probably understand, I was looking at other things instead. Right, tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Thank you all very much.